What up, y'all? This is Krill from Out the Box. I'm back for another review video. Today, I want to talk about a new album from two MCs, Cesar Comanche and Mack. They put out a new album called A Promise Not to Sting. So it actually came out around, I think, like October 25th, like late October. And just to give you a little insight on who Cesar Comanche is, he's actually co-founder of the North Carolina acclaimed hip-hop crew known as the Justice League. So if you're familiar with the Justice League, that's Little Brother, Fonte, Ninth Wonder, Big Pooh, and a number of other people that have been a part of, that movement. So they put out a new album, again, called A Promise Not to Sting. It's about 15 tracks. And what's dope about this album is it's actually produced by producers like Ninth Wonder, Crisis, DJ Flash. So like these are like Little Brother fam, right? Like Justice League fam. So that's the one thing about this album that I don't know if people are familiar with. If you come across this album, you might not know this. But I'm telling you, as you begin listening to this album, you realize like, wow, the production is so awesome. And I didn't realize that Crisis and Ninth Wonder has a number of beats on this until I started looking into the credits. But it started making sense because when I first heard the album, I was like, wow, these beats are dope. So, like I said, it's 15 tracks. We're going to go into some of the tracks. The first track is entitled WJLR. And if you're familiar with Little Brother's first album, The Listening, you know that the album opens with the skit, WJLR. And it's like a radio station that they had a skit that they would always play on that Listening album. So it's cool to see the album opening like that. It's kind of nostalgic. It takes you back to that early 2000s Little Brother era, right? So and then you go into, so that's kind of like a little skit, a WJLR skit. And then it goes into the first actual song on the album, The Need, which is produced by Crisis, and it has like a slow, soulful boom bap feel. Then it goes into a next track called a Plague, and that's produced by DJ Flash. And for those that may not know who DJ Flash, I think he was like Little Brother's DJ, years back when they were in their prime. They were moving like in the mid 2000s. And he actually produces this beat, A Plague, right? It features Marcel P. Black, and it's a boom bap, soulful track, kind of a nice opener for the album as well. They got a line where they say, real MCs don't rap over vocals. And it has a gritty boom bap feel too, man. There's boom bap all over this album, just to let y'all know. Then we go into the next track, Stillborn, which is produced by Ninth Wonder. So this is the first track you get to hear on the album, produced by Ninth Wonder. And let me just say, Ninth Wonder's beats on here are awesome. It reminds me of that early 2000, mid 2000 Ninth Wonder. And this track definitely moves in that vein. And as far as the subject matter, they're talking about like slowing down, learning how to crawl first, taking your time, like don't be too fast, don't be too quick. Just relax, So that's kind of like the message with that song. Then they go into the next track, Confinement, which is produced by DK. And that has a slower, soulful boom bap beat. And it's all about like reflecting on the confinement. Mack, his verse kind of talks about, having to deal with the confinement as an artist in this recent pandemic, and it affecting, being able to tour and, just having to switch things up, due to the confinement and his concerns about it in the future. So, that's the message with that one. And just to say something like, the album features these two MCs primarily, right? And they do have some features where other MCs and other artists are featured on the album. But I just want to talk about these two MCs. Like, Cesar Comanche's voice is pretty unique. He has a voice that doesn't sound like anyone else, and he does a really good job delivering his lyrics on this album as well. But Mack, I have to say, I wasn't too familiar with him. I knew about Cesar Comanche because of his history with Justice League, some of the music he's put out in the past. But Mack, I'm totally new to. And what I have to say about Mack is that his voice is very commanding. He has a strong voice. And I like the way he comes across on a lot of the features that he does on this album, so it's really cool to hear his voice as well. Then we go into the next track, number 6, which is called The Sting, and that features Heather Victoria. And one thing about Heather Victoria, if you're familiar with Jamla Records, Ninth Wonder's, music group, or just some of the work she's done with Little Brother, in that circle, Heather Victoria, it sounds awesome. She does a wonderful job when she's featured on songs, so it's always dope to hear her contribute her vocals, and that actual track is produced by Crisis. So that's a really good track. That's really more like the relationship record, but they're more so talking about like relationships going sour. Like I know with Poe's verse, he's talking about a relationship going sour that he's actually tried to make work. So yeah, man, Crisis does his thing on this album. Ninth does too. Then we go into the next track, Material Things, which is also produced by Crisis. And that's a awesome soulful beat. They're also talking about not getting caught up in material things and taking care of the things that really matter, right? Like loved ones, relationships, not focusing so much on material things. So I like the message with that. Giving value to the non-material things, even though the material things exist. They're dealing with like the things that matter. Then we go into the next track, Happy Talk, which is produced by J. Rawls. So it's cool to see J. Rawls on this album. The interesting thing is that this beat actually works, right? And that's the other thing about this album. The sequencing is really dope. Like what I like is the fact that they did a really wonderful job selecting the right beats and making sure that all of these beats kind of work with each other. Now, some of these beats are different and some of these beats stand out more, but the cohesiveness of the sound works. And I think they did a good job sequencing this, Also, when I think about the beats, it sounds like a lot of these beats might have been created, particularly by Crisis and Ninth Wonder. Sounds like a lot of these beats were created in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, in that Justice League prime. So I could be wrong, but I think that's one of the reasons why I really like this. I'm like, wow, like beat after beat. And I feel like as the album continues on, the beats sound even better, So that Happy Talk is by J. Rawls. The beat is more of a smooth, soulful boom bap, but it works in the sequence of the album. Then we have the track Hourglass, produced by Ninth Wonder, which might be between Material Things, produced by Crisis, and this track Hourglass by Ninth Wonder. Those might be my two favorite beats. Really, really dope tracks, man. Ninth does a really nice chop of a vocal sample on that. And in terms of the subject matter, that song is really talking about, slowing down, not moving too fast. Kind of similar to the other Ninth beat, Stillborn, and what they're talking about on that track as well. So yeah, like kudos to Cesar Comanche and Mack. They did an awesome job with this. Then we have the next track, Cold, which is produced by DJ Flash. That has like more of a boom bap beat, but it reminds me of something DJ Premier would do. It's like real like gritty and soulful. I really like that. Then we have track 11, which is called Algorithm. I think they did a video for that. I think that was like one of the first singles I saw, and they did a video for that. That's actually produced by Crisis. It has like a little violin instrument in there, and it has a slow, funky boom bap. If you can imagine slow and funky, but boom bap, that track is kind of kind of has that feel. Then we have Carefully, produced by Ninth Wonder, and that's their track where they're talking about police brutality and racial injustice, and just reflecting and just giving their voice on those subjects. And that's also produced by Ninth Wonder. Another wonderful contribution producer-wise by Ninth Wonder. Then you have the next track, Stale Flowers, which is produced by Superstition. And I'll be honest, I didn't even know that Superstition produces like that. Some of y'all may be familiar with Superstition being an MC from North Carolina as well. So it's cool to hear some production here, or from him. And in terms of the subject matter on the track, they're talking about like just giving people a value, their flowers while they're here and not waiting, right? Like just giving people their flowers while they here and alive. So I like that track. That was a good track. Then we go to track 14, which is sort of like similar to the first track. That one is called WJLR, and it's sort of like a skit where you hear like this roll call of like DJs calling in and they're like doing drops. So that's not really a actual song itself. It's like I said, it's similar to the first track. It's sort of like a skit of like DJs calling in and, you know, shouting out WJLR, and it features EA Flow as well, Edgar Allan Flow, who is, you know, another Justice League member. So it's cool to have him on and see him on and hear him on this project. Then it closes with the last track, Tropical Birds, featuring Eternal the MC. And this track is actually produced by Cesar Comanche. So it was good to see, you know, him contribute production on this album. The beat is a beat that I'm familiar with. It reminds me of a Nas beat that I heard around the time he was releasing I Am. Like there was like a mixtape coming around that time when he released I Am. And this beat reminds me of a beat from that mixtape series. I can't remember the name of the beat, but it's a cool beat to end the album with, you know. So yeah, 15 tracks, really well produced album, really good subject matter, thought-provoking subject matter. But I think most of all, the highlight of this album is the soulful beats. If you are looking for a soulful boom bap album, this is the album, right? And particularly if you're somebody who are familiar with the Justice League era, that little brother era of the early to mid 2000s, the type of beats you're hearing on here is those types of beats that Ninth and Crisis would do. Even if you're even a fan of Jamla Records, and you know Crisis and Ninth are obviously a part of Jamla Records, like I think you will like this album. Like this album, I feel people are gonna sleep on this album for the mere fact that they don't realize or they don't know that Crisis and Ninth Wonder has a number of beats on this album, and it's just not Crisis and Ninth Wonder beats. It's Crisis and Ninth Wonder beats that are similar to their sound of the early to mid 2000s in that Little Brother Justice League era. All right? So do not sleep on this album. The beats are soulful boom bap, and the subject matter is really good as well. Yo, so yeah. That's all I got to say as far as this album. It's available on digital streaming platforms right now. Again, it's called I Promise Not to Sting from Cesar Comanche and Mack. All right? So check it out. And, you know, hope you like the video. Till the next time, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. As you know, I try to do videos every day, music review videos. You know, so I hope you like what you hear. I hope these videos are giving you the encouragement to go check out some of this music. You know, I try to research these albums and really listen to them so that I can give some insight that may be helpful to you. All right. But yo, listen, thank y'all again. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I can use more subscribers. Like I said, I want to do this every day to provide that value to people that might be interested in learning about new music. All right. Thank you. I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy. Later.